We're Dressler Strickland, wishing you and your family the very best for this holiday season and for the coming year.
Felicidades!
Hi, I'm Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Good morning. I wanted to talk to you about Christmas stories today. And when I was going through some bookstores years ago, I picked up this book called Stories for Christmas by Charles Dickens. And the only story that I could remember about Charles Dickens is A Christmas Carol. And this is a pretty thick book. So I went through this book and I said, there must be something that I could tell. And I found a story. It took me a time to understand this story. And the English, of course, there are so many words in Charles Dickens' beautiful language that I had to shorten this, take out a few things in the story. But I hope it's whole when I tell it to you this morning. The name of the story is a child's story. Once upon a time, there was a traveler. Oh, many, more than many years ago. And he was going to set upon a journey. It was a magical journey. And he thought, oh, this journey is going to take a long time. And then he said, this is such a short journey after he got halfway through. Well, he started through the woods and he saw nothing. It was dark and the leaves were dark. And he came upon a beautiful child. And he said, so, what are you doing here? The child said, well, what do you do? The traveler said, well, I play all day long. Come with me and play. So the traveler went with him and they played. And the day was beautiful and the sky was so bright and the leaves on the trees were so green. Oh, and they loved the feel of the rain. It was wonderful. And they played such a merry time. And they had the best toys in the whole world. And they had beautiful picture books. Oh, it was wonderful. Bluebeard and Beanstalk and all kinds of books. Oh, and as they were having this merry time, this wonderful time, the traveler lost the child. And he called, where are you? And he called over and over again, but the child never came back. So the traveler went on with his journey. And there was nothing for a long time, nothing. He came across nothing. And then he came to a handsome boy. So, what do you do here, boy? Oh, he said, I learn. You learn? He said, yes, come with me and learn. So the traveler went with him. Oh, and he learned so many things. He learned about Greece and Rome and Jupiter and all kinds, so much learning that even the boy forgot some of it. But they did not only learn. Oh, they had fun. They went to parties, they dance. They went rowing. Oh, such a joyous time the man had. And he was having such a good time that one day he looked around and the handsome boy, just like the beautiful child, was gone. And he called, but they did not come. So he continued his journey. And for a while he saw nothing. It was dark. And then he came across, a young man. And he said, "Hey, what do you do?" And the young man says, "Hey, I fall in love." "You fall in love?" "Yes," the young man said. "Come, love with me." Oh, and they went on their journey together. And very shortly, they saw a pretty girl, the prettiest girl that they ever did see. And the traveler looked at the girl and said, "Oh, she looks like my Fanny. She smiles like my Fanny. Oh, she has dimples like my Fanny." And the young man quickly fell in love with her, just as someone did with his Fanny. Oh, and they laughed and they quarreled and they teased and they made up. And he asked her to marry him. And they were married. And all of them went on the journey together. Oh, just like someone that I won't mention did with his Fanny. But after a while, he also lost them. And he called after them and they did not answer. So he had to go on his journey. And when he started his journey, there was a long time and he didn't see anything. And then he came upon a middle-aged gentleman. And he said, "So, what do you do?" The gentleman says, "I work hard. I stay busy. Come with me and stay busy." So the traveler went with him and stayed busy all the time. Now this gentleman had a wife and children, and they all traveled together. And then sometimes they got kind of stopped, and they would hear this voice far in the distance, and the voice would say, "Father, Father, wait for me, I'm coming." And the closer he got, the closer it got. Oh, it got bigger. And then when he got to them, they all crowded around him and kissed him and loved him. Oh, it was so wonderful. And then they went on their journey again. And there are times when there was many roads. And the gentleman would look up and it looked like sunset and his hair was getting kind of gray. And one day, in front of these many roads, one child said, "Father, I'm going to sea." Another said, "Father, I'm going to India." And another said, "Father, I am going to find my adventures in the world." And another said, "Father, Mother, I am going to heaven." And all cried and missed the children. And soon there were no children. There was just the traveler, the gentleman, and the lady. And they traveled on and they stayed busy all the time. And their hair was changing colors, like it was gray and then started to turn white, but they kept on and they kept busy. And then one day the lady stopped and she heard a voice in the distance, and it sounded like the child who went to heaven. And he said, "Mother, Mother." And the father said, then the gentleman said, "Not yet, please, not yet." And the voice did not listen to him. He said, "Mother, Mother." And the lady laid there with her arm around her husband's neck. And she said, "It is my time." And kissed him. "I must go." And she was gone. So there was just a traveler and the gentleman, and they went on their way. And they could almost see the end of the wood. You know, almost the sunset was almost clear. They were almost to the end. And as the traveler broke his way toward the sunset, he looked around. And the gentleman was gone. And of course, he called and he called. But the gentleman did not return. So he got to the end of the wood, and there was a sunset. Oh, a beautiful sunset. And there was an old man sitting on a log. And he sat there. And the traveler said, "Oh, what do you do?" "I remember," the old man says. "Sit beside me and remember." And the traveler sat beside him. And he remembered the beautiful child, the handsome boy, the young man, the family, the father, the mother, and all the children. And as he was remembering, they came up softly behind him and surrounded him. And he looked around and realized he had lost nothing. They were all there, and they all loved him, and he loved them. And he said, "You know, grandfather," as the traveler was thinking, "Grandfather, the traveler must be you. Because you do with us what we do with you. Love." Thank you. That's Charles Dickens, the Christmas stories. And if you can find a copy, there's lots of stories to tell. And thank you for being with me and listening to this Christmas story. And I'll see you next week with a very special Christmas time. Read a little, write a little, and get those children to reading. And one of those gifts under that tree, you know what it should be. Take care. I'll see you next time.